Today's guest is Adam Vibe Gunton, who is a best-selling author, speaker, and entrepreneur. After overcoming a 16-year battle with drug addiction, which led him to being homeless and kicked out of the homeless shelter, Adam set out on a mission to develop himself into the best version possible, to attract other addicts suffering to find a life in recovery. Since then, Adam has built a multiple seven-figure company, gotten his book in the hands of over 10,000 people. He's spoken at events and schools all over the world, been a guest on over 100 podcasts, hosted over 150 episodes of the Recovered on Purpose show, has a TEDx Talk. It's coming out in October of this year, and has helped over 1,000 addicts find recovery in just 5 years of sobriety. His focus now is on improving every area of his life to continue to grow and reach an impact of his nonprofit foundation, Recovered on Purpose. Adam, thank you very much for being on. How are you doing today?
Doing awesome, Drosco. Thank you so much for having me, brother. Excited about this.
I'm excited about this too. Not just because you have one of the cooler backgrounds for the video recording of this, but also because I think addiction is something that is like such a dark horse in terms of like personal development. Like nobody really wants to like touch it. As somebody who struggled with addiction, like non-substance addiction with like porn and video games and distraction, all those things, I know like the stigma around it and how much of an impact it can have on your life. So I'm actually really excited to dive into this for a whole host of reasons and commend you for doing what you're doing. And why you just start us off with like adding anything you want to that and just giving us your story. Floor is yours for all of that.
Yeah, I grew up as a like an all-American child. I was the home run derby hitter at the Little League World Series. I went to Columbine High School. Most people have heard of Columbine High School. Was the captain of the state championship football team my senior year, but had this kind of deep, dark secret that I was using drugs and partying on the weekends and stuff. And it started to trickle into my school also. And then when I left to college, I had a traumatic event my freshman year of college on September 28th, 2008. I had been out drinking and partying like most nights my freshman year of college. And I woke up at 4:47 a.m. to my phone ringing and vibrating down by my leg. And I swam through the soft sheets to find my hard phone with the bright screen that read 4:47 a.m. and my best friend Chucker was calling me. And I remember having the conscious choice that I could either answer the phone like I always do with, "Hey, what's up, Chuck?" Or I could answer the way I was feeling with, "Hello." And in my still drunken state, I chose the latter, to which a soft voice replied, "Hey, what's up? Why are you calling me this late?" "I was just calling to say hi." "Don't call me this late again." And I hung up on him. And he shot himself. And for nearly a decade, I was unable to share that phone call with anyone, the truth about what happened, as I bottled it down deeper and deeper and deeper with drugs and alcohol. Drugs and alcohol were no longer a way to party and have fun. Drugs and alcohol became my solution to life, the way that I felt, the way that I thought as things came at me. And during that time, during my addiction, I was able to, break sales records and do amazing things in sales, but I was never able to actually count on myself being there for myself in my future. Because if I set a goal, if I didn't have dope, I wasn't doing that goal. And this was a cycle over and over and over and over in my life. And I always had this, this heart to help other people, but I had to learn to help myself first. I had to get clean and sober. I had to do it. And I ended up quitting all my sales jobs, everything, and, found myself homeless as I figured, there wasn't treatment for me. I couldn't find treatment. I couldn't get accepted into any treatment centers. And I figured the only way I was going to be able to do this was to stop enabling myself with 6 figures of income. And I quit everything, ended up homeless. And it took me like 9 months of homelessness until I finally got it. I finally got recovery. And once I found it, there's like this shift that happens when you're completely trapped in something and you find that freedom. There's this shift that is really unexplainable, like this moment of clarity where everything just changed in my life. And when I recognized that in my own life, my desire for life completely changed. It was like, holy cow, this is possible. Everyone suffering needs to know this. And from then, I knew that in order to attract people to recovery, I had to personally develop in every way possible, whether it's health or learning or body and all of these different things, in order to show that not only is recovery possible, but a beautiful life in recovery is possible. And then once I started sharing my story, uh, and started getting messages from people and emails from people that my book was helping find recovery, I recognized how powerful a recovery story is, and then started coaching other people how to write books and how to get their stories out, how to get on podcasts, how to do these things. And man, I believe it's the number one relapse prevention for the person sharing their story, because it attaches you to this new identity as someone who is recovered and someone who is sharing their story and someone who is helping other people out there. And if you're in a place where you're helping people, you're automatically lifted up from a person that has to be helped with their addiction. You're no longer an addict. You help addicts. And then it's also the best way to reach addicts out there that are suffering. Because when recovery first started, they were doing recovery by mail. They were sending letters and things to people in order to show them the steps of how to find recovery. But now we have podcasts, we have short form videos, we have YouTube, all of these different ways that if we put our messages together correctly and powerfully, the virality of it is extremely possible. And then if you have a video that reaches 3 million people, how many of those are suffering? In the United States, 21 million people are suffering right now over the age of 12 with substance use disorder. So you're reaching a lot of people with these new methods of sharing your story. So I believe it's going to be the number one way of solving this crisis. And that's what Recovered on Purpose does. I coach people how to get their stories out in a powerful way to reach more people. And then when they reach out, how to help them, how to give them the resources that will help them find recovery.
I love it, man. I love it on so many levels. And I think it takes that whole sentiment of like your mess becomes your message. Like you're living the thriving of that cliche, right?
Mm,
It's like you said, it's not just, okay, I'm free from this addiction, but like look at what your life can become on the other side of that. And I think that's
yes,
so important because like at the end of the day, we get into addictions because we're trying to mask something that we fundamentally are ashamed of, right? Like the darkness that we cannot handle. And then to not just be free of that, but to then live in the light of what that is, I think is such a powerful, beautiful message because it gives somebody something to look forward to beyond just the like recovery. You know what I mean? Like
exactly.
that's like I think that the biggest pull anybody can have, and the fact that you walk your own talk, I think is even a bigger thing. So yeah, anything you want to add to that, by all means,
Thank
the
you,
floor
brother.
is yours.
Thank you for saying that. And that's something that I am really I believe in a lot. Like if you say something, if you're telling someone else to do something, you better be doing it yourself, or you better have already done it, because that's something that, I'm a heavy believer in God. And that's literally something that he says that he detests more than anything, is someone who is a hypocrite, someone who says do this and doesn't do it. And, the beautiful thing about coaching, and I'm sure that you have experienced this in your own life, where you're coaching somebody, but you're also coaching yourself. Like you're talking about something that you should be doing and you have done in the past. Oh, I should get that back in my life. I'm coaching them something I know works, and I need to add that back into my own life. And that's, helping people just has so many different circles back around to how it helps yourself, them, and ultimately community in the world.
Absolutely. And while you were saying that, like what popped into my head was that experience of, like God, universe, whatever word you want to use, like it like they test you again and again on the exact same subject. Like you're talking about, okay, I'm coaching somebody through this. I've been through it. I'm whatever steps ahead of them, like however you want to interpret that piece. But then it's like you're gonna get the same type of thing put in different contexts all around you. You know what I mean? Like again and again to kind of ensure, yeah, like you're still on point, you still got this. Which has certainly been my experience with coaching and all the other things that I've done. So I'm just curious, like if there's anything else you wanted to add to that piece as well.
I've also found that it doesn't matter what you've overcome. There's someone out there struggling with what you have overcome right now, and they need you. They need you to share your story. I believe that whatever you've overcome is your purpose to help others with.
Love it. Well, in that case, I mean, since you're spending so much of your time supporting others, what can I support you with today?
When um, I just got 501c3 nonprofit status. And in my entire life with business, since I was, we can go all the way back to when I was selling drugs, but everything was, for profit. Everything was add a lot of value to somebody's life, like give them something that their money is worth less than the product that you're selling them, right? And I've built teams, I've built companies that were doing multi-million dollars a year with teams of 23 and more people. And I just got 501c3 nonprofit at the end of last year, and I have to like work on the fact that I'm asking people to support my mission and not giving them a product, right? These people are, I'm trying to figure out the own psychology inside of my head on how, because I wrote a proposal a couple weeks ago, and my grant writer was like, this is like a marketing pitch proposal. I was like, I know, I don't know how else to do it, And I'm trying to just make it so valuable to them that they want to support. And I'm trying to figure out how to have that conversation with myself and with others where I am adding value. It's just in a different way.
Got it. So let's just say that has its own tactical solution, right? Like you're switching the direction of where the business is heading. That has certain implication and consequences on the strategy, the tactics of how you execute that. And obviously, this is a legit problem that is going to have a component of that. Um, what I'm more curious then is, okay, so how are you showing up in the exploration of this problem? What's going on with you internally as the leader that needs to push this through?
I have always been someone that I can write a goal, like a sales goal, for instance, and I can go out and I can sell that many or beyond. And right now, I would say that I'm in a position where I can write something down in my goals and put an end date on it, like a done by date on it. And I can do everything within my power to make that happen, but I'm relying on somebody else now. Like it's not just what I'm doing that's making things happen. So, and I'm someone, like I'm really, really strong with my word. Like if I say I'm going to do something, I do it. Or if as soon as I know I'm not going to be able to fulfill on it, like I said, I let the person know that I gave my word to. That's just really, really strong in me. And I'm experiencing a lot that, it's hard to find people that do it like that in this realm, and having to work around that and not get frustrated while people are doing the process. And I can't make a goal. Like I can't make a goal with a date, which I'm so used to doing, which makes me feel achieved. It makes me feel like I am in control. So I would say that I'm actually feeling quite out of control about an outcome, and I've never felt this way before.
Okay, got it. So if you're looking at this through the lens of, let's just say, the language that you might have come across in with all of the recovery stuff, right? Like the core tenet or one of them is like you focus on things you can control and you let go of the things that you can't. So with that in mind, how would you coach yourself through this situation?
Um, I would tell myself to, it's way easier to look at me and tell me to do it, because It's a really stressful situation, bro. I'll give you a little bit more backstory of where I'm at right now. One of the businesses that I had that was doing multi-million, and I had, it was very equity rich and cash flow rich. At the end of 2021, I, due to some bad decisions on my partners and some inexperience on my part, company collapsed. I lost over 7 figures of net worth and took my savings and came down to Colombia, where the cost of living is like 33%. And I have worked 10, 12, 14 hours a day on this, right? I've gotten a lot of different reach and a lot of different things going really, really well. But I'm like, I've spent all of my savings and all of my credit, bro. And I had quite a bit, but it's been 16, 18, 19 months now, marketing dollars and all of this stuff, trying to build this as a for-profit. And I'm at a place right now where I'm like, I haven't been in a financial place like this since I found recovery, where I am sort of worried about my finances. I have job offers. I can get a job like that in sales, sales management, sales directorship, but if I do that, then I feel like my mission and what my purpose actually is not going to have the time that it deserves. This is the only thing I can possibly do and not feel like I'm working, bro. When I'm helping someone, when I watch lights turn on and things like that, it is ridiculous to me. I just know it's what I'm supposed to be doing. But the reality of the situation is hitting more and more and more as we're getting this close and this close and this close and this close to funding from these big names and all this stuff. And I keep hearing that, but like, I'm getting closer and closer and closer to literally not being able to pay my bills. And I haven't been here in a long time. My credit card got declined for the first time in my recovery last month, blew my mind. And that's where I'm at. That's where I'm at.
Got it. Well, first and foremost, I want to acknowledge you for allowing yourself to be witnessed in like the reality of like the situation, right? Like the stakes are apparent, the stakes are high, and I get it. So to just then dive off of all of that, because you started this whole thing saying, okay, well, I set a goal literally by the end day, like I can get it done. I've been very consistent and good at doing that. Now I'm in this state where I don't control like who gives me a grant, who doesn't give me a grant. Okay, fair. So your initial question was like, okay, well, like how do I like work around that? How do I like deal with that? Would it be accurate to say that at this point right now, it's actually less about the tactical aspects of diving into that and more about the actual fear and uneasiness that I feel, given that the stakes are what they are in the position that I'm in?
Yeah, I would say that.
Okay.
Yeah.
So given that, if you go back to the original question, okay, how would you coach yourself through that situation?
Um, keep my morning habits secure. Do my health, spiritual practices in the morning very secure and very disciplined, and keep doing what I'm doing, honestly.
Okay. So go back to self-care, keep doing what I'm doing. Okay. To what degree are you doing the self-care now?
I do it pretty well. But I just started getting back into my exercise routine because I was training MMA and I screwed up my shoulder, and for a while I couldn't even like lift my arm over my head. And I noticed like not exercising is huge with my mental health, huge with my, overall health. So last Monday, I re-implemented, waking up at 5 a.m. and, doing my cold plunge. I have a cold plunge here with, 36-degree water, and then go to the gym, or go for a run. So I've just been getting back into it. And I know that within the last, or within the first 25 minutes of waking up, your mind is operating at 10.5 wave cycles per second, which is the most, absorbent it is for the entire day. And I need to be, when the alarm goes off, it needs to be instant. Like, I'm out of bed. I've been at that point before. And I think that with all the stuff going on right now where I feel out of control, it becomes hard for me to take control, even when it's something that I am in control of. Like having this whole life situation, it comes down into the minute, which is interesting because I would say that not probably, for sure, the minute also goes into the grand scheme of things also. So staying true to those small things.
100%. So, okay, like I have an idea of what you say when you say the minute has, like, the micro has an impact on the macro.
Mm-hmm.
What is it in your words?
When I wake up and I have my morning routine set, I wake up, immediately touch my feet to the floor, and I do what I said I was going to do for my morning routine. And that continues to take control of the things I am in control of, in order to make it so I can release the things that I'm actually not in control of, because I actually am doing the small things that I 100% am in control of.
Got it. Okay, perfect. So let's say, okay, listening to you from the outside looking in, all of these things sound right. Like, that they all make sense, that they're all rooted in like a good approach. So what do you think stopped you or is stopping you from actually doing these things consistently? Because you know why they help. You've seen that they do help. What do you think is the resistance to actually anchor into them more consistently?
Sorry, listeners, I gotta.
It's okay. Take your time. By all means, do what you need to do.
Can you ask me the question again?
So to put it a different way, you have all the right answers. Everything sounds great. You know why they all work. You've seen evidence of them working in your past. Why do you think you have a hard time doing them now?
I don't know. I can't give you an answer.
Yeah, perfect. So A, I appreciate the honesty. B, if you hold the attention of that question in mind, and instead of thinking about what the answer might be, what do you feel inside of your body as, like, what's present inside of your body when I ask you that?
I'm not in touch with it at all. In that moment, I'm not in touch with it at all.
Okay, perfect. Yeah. So from the outside looking in, that to me either means we're at the edge of something where your subconscious actually feels comfortable diving into this, or B, there's a lot of fear and or pain behind whatever this pattern is, that you get that protection where it's like you just go blank, or it's like it feels like you lost like 80 IQ points. Like I just have no idea. Okay, so A, is that something you're familiar with, or does that resonate, not resonate? Just give me a check with regards to that.
I actually, something just came up, and it's actually A and B.
Mm-hmm.
So I love my father. Love my father. Best friend. In my recovery, we basically didn't even have one fight. He passed away on Christmas Day. And he, how do I say it? He wasn't able to do things that he wanted to do. And I think that some of the habits might come from a lot of my time and love for him.
Mm-hmm.
But when you're talking about that, that's what came up. So that's there.
Mm-hmm.
I'm also comfortable about talking about anything, so that's also there. Um, yeah.
Okay.
And
Yeah. Go ahead.
you know,
Go ahead.
it hurts to say, and it has hurt to say, but I don't want to, you know, and I know that this is similar for a lot of people, you know, they don't want to end up like, right? They don't want to be there at that age, right? Um, yeah. And it, you know, I've released my dad. I miss him. I love him. But at the same time, bro, I haven't even like cried, you know, because A, I know that there's nothing left unturned with him. I don't have anything I wish I would have said to him, nothing like that. Um, and that's been something that I've wondered, like, why it is that I wasn't able to basically cry at all, you know. Um, and then I think that, you know, a lot of that stuff, like dude, I get into this point sometimes when I'm just like completely fathered by God, completely like on it, dude, up, boom, 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 next thing, next thing, next thing. And I feel amazing. Um, and I would say that at some point when all of this stuff was hitting me, you know, I started to feel like a failure, you know, because I came down here with a very specific goal. Um, and although a lot of it went really well, I also got to a point where I can't even support myself. And taking a job, um, you know, I can make really good money with a job, but that's not what life is about to me at all. You know, just hasn't been. So that's all I got for that. I don't know why it is that, you know, I haven't been able to hop right back on it, but um, I know I'm capable. I know I'm able. So, you know,
100%. So again, I want to commend you and acknowledge you on how quickly you allow yourself to go into these places and in this instance be witnessed with them, right? Especially given this is a public forum. Um, two, especially in a container like this, like at the end of the day, all of you is welcome, and I'm only ever going to go as far as you or parts of you are willing to go, right? So if there's any reservations to you or to any of these parts, like I just want to make that absolutely clear. And then three, so there's a lot that came up in that sharing, right? Like a lot of different pieces that seem to kind of be tangled up together around, you know, something like this one event that you are living through, this one chapter that you are living through right now. So there's the passing of your dad. There is the fear or sense of like, I don't want to end up like him or certain parts of him. There's the failure aspect and this kind of like doomsday. I'm back to where I was at before. There is the potential and like, okay, I know I have it in me. I've done extraordinary things prior. Like, what is this about? It doesn't make any sense. So, out of all of those, does anything stand out to you as most relevant to bring to this conversation, or they're all kind of the same?
um, similar, you know, they're similar, but the biggest thing is I believe that if I fail, people are going to die, bro.
Okay.
I believe if what I see happening with this nonprofit doesn't happen, I believe that many people will suffer that don't have to. And I believe that as much as I put it on God, I also have it a lot on my shoulders. I believe this is going to save thousands and thousands and thousands of lives, and more. Um, yeah, yeah.
Okay.
And sometimes I feel like, you know, I can get in the headspace of I'm not good enough, but very, very rarely now. Like, because I'm fairly certain, you know, that all I like, as long as this thing happens here, this one piece, this funding piece, you know, as long as that happens, like it's happening. And it's just really scary that if I'm relying on other people to get this done, um, it's a scary place to be for me.
Okay. So define it in that context. Because you're like, if I get the funding, then like it'll be okay. It's not like I'm not good enough. Like it'll be like, how do you define it in that instance?
Like it getting done.
Yeah, I can't remember the exact wording you said, but you were like, it'll be okay, or something along those lines. Like if I get this
Like it'll
funding, it'll be
happen.
okay. So
Like it'll happen.
what is it? What would define that?
Bro,
Just
I have the relapse rates are over 90% for addicts like me that go to long-term treatment. 11% of addicts out there suffering in the United States are actually receiving treatment that they need. And I have a solution for both of those. Plus, in 2026, I have the system for a treatment center that will be the solution for the opioid crisis. 100%, zero doubt. And there's things that are going on in the system right now that I don't want to say that they're wrong, but they're not working. And I can 100% see, I can see the solution. And I just want to be able to do it. You know, for the first 2.5 years of this company, you know, well, actually the entire until, you know, the end of last year, but the first like 2 years of this company, you know, I didn't even care about making it a nonprofit, none of that, because I had this other business where I was making 300, 400 grand a year. And I was able to, you know, invest, you know, 100 grand a year in my own education and mentorship and coaching and all of these different things, and making sure that I'm in this place to help other people and branding and all this stuff. I was just dumping all of, not dumping, but I was investing all of my money into helping people. And then that got cut off. And now I have to figure that out again, somehow, in order to fund this, you know?
got it. So again, I'm gonna just separate the, and I know that there's an overlap. Oh, there always is, right? Because at the end of the day, your business is you, and you're the leader of it, and there's all these interplaying parts. But let's just say that the tactical aspects aside, if we're just focusing on you as the leader of the ship, if we're just looking at the sentiment of responsibility, right? Like I agree with you wholeheartedly that, the system isn't effective at solving this problem. I agree with you. There needs to be better solutions for it. Clearly, you have something that works really well, and I celebrate the need for that to come out. But if you look at it one step deeper, like one step higher, more umbrella kind of perspective, are you responsible for other people's well-being?
Yes,
Okay.
I believe so.
So tell me more about that.
I believe it's my purpose. I 100% believe that it is my purpose to help others. It's where I feel alive. It's where I feel like I could do it 24/7. When I see somebody's life change, when I, you know, see somebody hurting and just, you know, be able to make it so that their suffering is eased. Um, and I also feel like, you know, 100% humbly, I believe that I have like special things that God has given me in order to fulfill this here. And I believe that I can show others, you know, how to bring out their own strengths and things like that. And there's a system to make it so that everybody would be able to do exactly what I'm talking about to ease other people's suffering. I just believe that in order for this thing to happen, it takes me, which in turn, I am responsible for everybody that it will ever impact. And
Okay.
although, because the system that is supposed to ease their suffering, that is supposed to treat them, is not working.
So again, agreed. And diving deeper into the responsibility bit, who ultimately does the transformation? You or the person?
The person,
Okay. So then how are you responsible for their transformation?
because the resources that they have right now in order to find the transformation that they need, they don't exist on the scale that they need to. And I don't want to say that there's nothing out there that's working for anybody, but there's nothing out there, like no treatment center, no 12-step fellowship, no, place that is helping people with addiction can say that they have double-digit success. They can't. You can't tell me that. Unless you're someone that literally has a program where you are, charging 250 grand and you take one person for 6 months, and completely rewire them, which is, that's amazing, but I'm thinking more of like all of the people that don't have those kinds of resources, that don't have all of that need this, and I'm 100% in belief that, you're 100% responsible for your own life, for your own transformation, all that. But I also learned that by being developed by one of the top coaches on the entire planet. I learned that about myself. And without that piece of knowledge, I never would have known that. And I can't tell you the indoctrination in this community of their identity. Like it kills me that people believe that addicts are destined for poverty and relapse. That's a huge, it's not said like that, but when you're doing relapse prevention in a way where, you're basically telling addicts what they can't do with their life. You're telling them all of the things they have to avoid, and you're telling them what to do if they relapse. That's literally part of relapse prevention right now. Like, hey, if you use drugs, do this. Like someone like me, if I use drugs once, I'm out. You'll never see me again. And there's something that has to change with it. And I can say be added to it, because I care a lot about this community and the people that are helping this community. But if you've been in the community, nobody can say that there's, great success, and I believe 100%, obviously recovery is possible. And if you're listening to this and you're struggling, recovery is possible, but it does come down to you. And then there's 21.5 million people in the United States right now suffering with substance use disorder. How are they all going to get the message to change?
So, okay, I'm just going to cut you off here for 1 second. Not because I disagree with anything that you're saying, not because I don't think it's a beautiful message. All of the things I celebrate. The reason that I'm going to cut you off is, so whenever I ask a question that is geared towards like you and like your contribution to whatever it is that we're discussing, you don't skirt the question. Like you go into it, but then your brain likes to go into like secondary information that sounds beautiful, is accurate, needs to be said, but it also diverts away from the attention being on exploring exactly what you bring into it. So number one, well, what lands for you there, or what doesn't?
Yeah, that's one of my defense mechanisms. And then humor also.
Okay, perfect. Yeah. So the fact that you recognize the defense mechanism is good. So why do you think it's kicking in right now?
Because I'm really strong in my beliefs, and when it gets challenged, I want to go into it, but sometimes I feel like some of my beliefs actually keep me strong. So some of them, like if I, because the belief is in something that I believe keeps me empowered is feeling responsible for other people's lives. And it makes me feel, I want to defend that, I want to honor that and defend that.
So what happens if you fail at that?
If I fail at defending that.
So what happens if you fail at the responsibility of other people's transformations?
In my line of work, people die.
Okay. And is that absolutely true across all instances?
No.
Okay. So I know you know that logically.
Yeah.
But there's a very black and white sentiment to that particular belief. If I fail at my work, It's like it's all over, right? And I agree, but it's like you said before, even if like this were to completely fail, there's still solutions out there. And I understand why you want to get the solutions out there. What I'm curious about is like, to what degree is that black and white nature of it or whatever's behind it serving you or keeping you at peace?
I think that it serves me because it makes me work hard,
Mm-hmm.
and it does not keep me at peace. But sometimes I'm cool with not being at peace.
Okay.
So I enjoy work. I enjoy
Okay.
it.
Perfect. So one of the things that you had mentioned in like your intake to dive into this was the work and how much work was taking away from other things that also brought you fulfillment and peace, etc.
Yep.
So I understand that there's always two sides to every coin, right? Your strength is you enjoy work and you're very good at it. The distortion of that is then in some ways that becomes the drug of choice.
Mhm.
But like that's how I avoid all the other things. So before I go on, what lands, what doesn't?
Yeah, and that was actually one of the reasons why I um, started earlier and started a new kind of routine. Is I always do like a list of 6 things that I'm going to get done the next day and things like that. And now what I'm doing is adding 2 things in there that are personal, like that aren't work related. Um, and yeah, that's a thing for sure. It's a thing for sure.
What's a thing?
Um, I could be working right here for 10 hours and forget the time. And, if it weren't for having my puppy, my 6-month-old puppy, he turned 6 months in 4 days. I might not eat. I might not get away from this. And I just like am on a project and going. And I will have my phone on do not disturb and that kind of stuff. I used to be, connected with communities where I live and like entrepreneur groups and things like that. And I start to think, is that serving, my purpose with Recovered on Purpose? And I start to think, if I go do this, what is it taking away from Recovered on Purpose? Right.
Okay. And what are you gaining with that attitude?
Dude, I've gotten a lot done. I've
Perfect.
gotten a lot done.
So I 100% agree and makes sense. What are you gaining personally?
Um, I was gaining a lot of feeling of fulfillment. Like when I set to do something and I do it, it feels amazing. It feels great. When I'm
Mm-hmm.
coaching somebody and, I set up a schedule so that I have this group coaching and then one-on-ones here and here and here and here and here and here and here. And then getting on those, it feels, amazing. It feels fulfilling.
Mm-hmm.
Um, yeah, that's what I would say.
Okay.
That's what I'm getting from it.
So in this instance, at least from the examples that you use, the personal coaching aspect of it, the aha moment for the client, that makes you feel amazing.
Yes.
Okay. Totally understand that. That, however, isn't just work, right? You have more work that you need to do.
Yeah.
And simultaneously, when I work, I feel amazing, but I'm also not at peace. When I get the result or get the aha moment for the client, I am fulfilled. And then I just like drown myself in work to obliterate my attention. That's all. I'm like hyper focused, but then that's not at peace. So those two images are at odds. So what's landing there? What's not?
No, I hear both of that. I hear both of those.
Okay.
And I guess it's hard to say that I'm not at peace because the only thing that I'm not at peace with is the financial part of it. That's the only part of everything that I'm not at peace with. And I'm a believer in Jesus. I follow Jesus. Like I am at peace. I know, and that's why I'm willing to, max out my credit cards and spend all my savings working on something that he told me to do. I know that it's going to come through. It's just, when? Like, come on. Yeah.
Got it. So in that instance, let's just say if we dive with that,
Mhm.
what do you think you're most afraid of feeling?
Failure. Having
Okay.
to having to do something else with my time in order to support myself.
Okay. And if that were to happen, then fill in the blank.
Then part-time recovered on purpose, full-time building someone else's dream, or figure out another business that I want to get into and build, which would then make it so I have very little time for recovered on purpose. And then hope for the best, I guess.
Okay. So, I mean, certainly a setback to the original vision doesn't sound absolutely horrible. So, where's the failure in that?
I don't think I would be able to give 100% to any job. And I think I would be taking away from that employer
Okay.
because my mind would never be able to get on another person's job.
Okay. Also
Yeah.
fair, right? Just why you're an entrepreneur. I get that 100%.
Yeah.
Where's the failure in that?
It's it's wrong. It's wrong to, you know, do a job for someone and not do your best at it.
Sure. Which is a reflection of your values, and they're good values to have. It's being staying in integrity, which is great, but it has nothing to do with failure.
Right. I mean, that would mean that I failed. I would feel like I failed at this. I failed for people. Um, there's, you know, I get a lot of messages and emails from people that I'm helping. And it's because I work 10, 12, 14-hour days, 6 days a week, you know?
Right.
And
So again, even if you were doing that part-time, you're still helping people. So again, where's the
yeah,
failure in it?
um, not helping as many. I want to help as many as possible, bro. Like,
Okay.
yeah,
Okay. But then that's a question of magnitude. Like I'm either helping X or I'm helping Y.
exactly.
So again,
That's what it is.
where's the failure in all of that?
I guess not being able to do my calling full time, not being able to do my purpose, full time.
Okay. And let's just say worst case scenario, that's at this moment. So again, where's the failure in that? You're still actively pursuing it. You're still alive. You're still moving to it.
Yeah,
Okay.
hear
So
that.
okay. So what's landing for you with this line of questioning?
Um, I'm not okay with it. Not your questioning, but I'm not
Mhm.
okay with that outcome. That's the main thing. I'm
Okay.
just not okay with it.
Which is abundantly clear. And I commend you for it because like it's like, and what
Yeah.
makes this kind of like difficult is the wrong word, but like what makes this complex is like it is such an important mission. You do such great work. I understand that there's a very altruistic element to it, right? Why I'm asking these questions is really to like narrow down and dial in your distortion in it,
Mm,
because your biggest fear, as you have expressed today, is like the failure of this thing as reflected by this financial situation that I find myself in.
yeah.
Okay. Yet it's taken me 4 or 5 prompts to get you to define failure, all of which, like, yeah, I guess that's not really failure, but then this, but then it's not this, but then kind of like that. Like, none have actually landed on an actual, like, okay, this is failure. And the reason why I bring that up is like the thing you fear the most actually doesn't have a clear definition, right?
Yeah.
And in any of the scenarios you mentioned, none are final. Life goes on. You actually are still contributing to your mission. All of them are just, blips or, detours or like however, whatever euphemism you want to use for it, that actually stop. Like if you were like, well, the business is going to crash like my previous one, I'd be like, okay, like that seems legit. But it's just the sense of like, I'm going to fail. And then yet I can't define the thing that I'm failing at and or point to it, yet it impacts negatively so much of my experience of what I'm doing. like that to me is like baggage for the sake of having baggage. Let me just put on a 50-pound pack and walk around for the sake of just having a 50-pound pack. So
Yeah,
what's landing for you there?
it's true. It's true.
Okay. So dive a bit deeper into that. What else is coming up?
Um, I mean, I think that that has, something to do with my personality type also. Like I like to put a ton of responsibility and a ton of weight on myself in order to get myself to act, and it serves me because when I think about this, it doesn't make me halt, it more so makes me, um, if done correctly, and if I'm not feeling totally out of control, then it drives me to action. But I think the fact that there's out of control plus, a misunderstanding of what my, idea of failure is, because my idea of failure, I've way surpassed my idea of failure, where I was found dead by the police, and over 5 million people have seen that body cam footage. you know that's failure to me. Real failure is relapsing, and that's not in there anymore.
Yeah.
So I think it's just those two kind of coupled together. So that's, yeah, it's
Yeah.
perfect.
And I thank you for sharing that, because that was going to be my ultimate point. If you did like kind of, okay, well, this is failure. I'm like, you've gone from homeless into this position. Like you figured out a lot of very complex, hard things in like notwithstanding the addiction, but just like the success in business. Like I don't see based off of your history, somebody who's like not going to be able to navigate getting a grant. You know what I mean? Like I think you'll be able to figure that out, right?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So that's why I was moving down this road of like, okay, what is this harping on failure when it's so undefined for you, right? And then the other question I had is like, if you were to replace responsibility with significance, would that land for you?
100% yes.
Okay, so tell me why.
um I want to, um I want to change the world, dude. I want to change the world while I'm here. And it's not like, and it's really it's difficult to explain without going kind of deep. When I first started Recovered on Purpose, I was talking to my mentors about it, and I was like, I don't want to be the one out there and sharing my story all the time and stuff like that. I want to lift other people up and coach other people and everything like that. They're like, no, you have to. You have to, right? And I I want my work when I die to continue. I want when I die what I did here to last and help people, you know. Um and I don't want to build someone else's ability to do that.
Yeah. So the reason why I asked that question is if replacing responsibility with significance resonates and resonates strongly, okay, I have nothing against building a legacy. I think that's a beautiful thing, especially for the kind of work that you do, right? What I'm getting at now is, okay, sometimes our, like I always say, like our primary gifts become our first distortions. It's like the thing that you're really good at oftentimes becomes the first thing we distort when we move through the world, right? So like you can think of like if you're really book smart, then suddenly everything becomes a thinking problem, and then you
Mm,
don't do any action, right? So it's like
yeah.
the man with the hammer problem. So in this instance, this powerful need to share and express and empower, while beautiful and clearly impactful, if it's getting distorted as I also need significance, then that can manifest as, well, then I'm responsible for everyone and everything. Because if I fail at that, then I fail at being significant, then whatever else like the narrative is,
Yeah.
right? So what, if anything, is landing for you there?
I would say you hit it. That lands, it hasn't been thought of and put that way exactly, But definitely, you know, something that drives me is, you know, I want to help people. I want to help a lot of people, and I want it wouldn't I like to be recognized also. I'll just say it. Like,
Sure.
because the amount of work that I do, and there's certain things that I don't want recognition for at all. Like certain things that I love to just have in private. Like the conversations that I have with people that nobody will ever know that actually happened, at 1 o'clock in the morning, things like that. But I mean, I have a TEDx talk in October, and that thing is, it's going to go viral, dude. 100% going to go viral. It's going to help a lot of people. And I see it like I want to do the TEDx talk. I want to be the person up there and everything. And also I'm planning like, okay, I know it's going to go viral. So I need the system to make it so that when it does, and all of these people start reaching out, and all of these people need help, and all these people are doing this, we have the system. We have the system for them. Then there's also, my, social media is already reaching a lot of people, um,
Right. So I'm
some,
just gonna again cut you
yeah,
off just because again it's going into
again,
like
yeah,
your brain's going into that thing of like, yes, and then we're
yeah,
gonna do X, Y, and Z, which is gonna lead to A, B, and C, and then like there's gonna be
yeah,
and again, I actually agree with all of it. I think it's beautiful. I think tactically, like you know all the things, right? Like
yeah.
we don't need to go down there. So the thing that I just want to reflect back is this isn't necessarily about like the typical guess that I have in that like again, my head trash is kind of stopping me from doing X, Y, and Z. The
Mhm.
way that I see it, that this deep need for the significance, like what's missing is like when people talk about like finding the relationship or like getting a good relationship, it's like the energy that you want in that partnership is always be like, I want you, but I don't need you. Meaning like I want to be in this experience with you, but I don't need you to feel any particular way. I don't
Mm,
need you to whatever X, Y, Z, right?
yeah,
It's how you're attached to that thing. So the reason why I bring that into this container is like right now, this gift that you do have, the vision, the mission, the thing that was put on your soul to do, there's a part of it that is in this attachment and neediness of it. And I think
yeah,
that that's distorting certain decisions that you're making. I think it's certainly taken away from like the peace and the fulfillment that you can be experiencing with such a beautiful mission. And it's kind of driving that like another version of that addictive loop of like, I need this hit of significance. You know what I mean? Like, even though the significance now is helping people, and it's obviously a much better thing than, drugs, it still has that same flavor. It's just in a different context. Ironically, with like we mentioned at the beginning of this whole episode. You know what I mean?
yeah,
So again, what lands for you? What does it?
yeah. There was I was actually talking about this um with a coaching client, and then on a podcast. In our addiction, we wake up in the morning, we have this thought, I need dope. And then we think and we think and we think and we think, and we act and we act and we act until we get dope, and then put it in our arm, and that's like the dopamine release, right? And that neuro highway started when we woke up and said, I need dope. And it finished when we got dope and got that dopamine hit. And now 100%, when someone messages me and they say, hey, I saw your podcast 90 days ago and just want to let you know I have 90 days today. That dopamine hit, dude, there's no dope on the planet. There's no dope on the planet for that. And for that, I think that it's, for me, it's relapse prevention, 100%. I don't really worry about ever going back to drugs or anything like that, but you know, it's my hit to help people for sure. It's my hit to help people.
Correct. And again, I commend you for how easily and open you are to just like, receive whatever it is, see what lands connected to your own, life and experience. I think it's all beautiful and reflective where you are. But again, just not to drag this out too much. Like that, I think is it. Like it's really you getting clarity on, okay, well, what is the healthiest version of how I want to show up, how I want to serve, and the mission that I want? Like, what is the healthiest expression of that that doesn't put me into these cycles that are going to take away from my fullest embrace and fulfillment of it? And when I can define that, then I can heal the patterns around it that, while on the surface, like actually look very good, might have a distorted intention behind them. Right. I think that that's really what, from the outside looking in, um, is coming up for me. So again, what lands for you, what doesn't?
Yeah, I like it. It is what it is, you know, it is what it is. And I wouldn't say, um, like I obviously, like when I'm thinking about people, I don't think of them as a dope hit, you know, it's like the way that it came out, you know. Yeah, I mean, that is what it is. I don't have like any intentions except for helping people. Um, but I can definitely see that I want to help people instead of do other work. So that's part of it
Correct.
also.
And
Yeah.
that's, I think, kind of the crux of it. It's like the best place you can be to legitimately help other people is when you have helped yourself.
Yeah.
Right. And then if the helping of the other people becomes the excuse to not actually dive in and heal those parts of yourself, that's where distortion is. So anyway, I don't
Yeah.
want to keep circling around the same thing, but as far as like this exploration, like, does that feel complete for you? Or is there still something left
No,
outstanding?
100%. We got there for sure. That was great.
All
That
right,
was great.
fair enough. Well, listen, I know you've mentioned a lot of your stuff already in here, but floor is yours to promote everything you need to promote and tell people, who's the best person to find you, where can they find you? Floor is yours for that.
Yeah, Facebook, Recovered on Purpose, recoveredonpurpose.org. I give away my book free, digital and audio copy. And if someone out there is in recovery, I also made a free relapse prevention worksheet on there. And by the time this gets out, hopefully we've been funded, but also there's a donate button on that website too.
Love it. Well, listen, man, thank you very much for coming on, allowing yourself to be witnessed in this way. And for everybody else listening, we'll see you on the next one.
Thank you, Dresco.